buildings. Here the Army has had a history of using sustainability rating tools back from 2002, where we did a one-off from LEED, which we called Spirit, that was developed right here at our lab. And Don, were you part of the team that put Spirit together? That was our first step in having a sustainability criteria for buildings that moved to LEED Silver in 2009, and now we've added LEED Silver plus ASHRAE 189.1. Now let's take a look at those. I mean, here's the time frames that, even though it was 02 that we came up with that, it didn't actually impact. There's always a couple of years lag between we've got the standard and we're implementing the standard. So Spirit in about 5, between 8 and 9 here when LEED Silver became the standard. And ASHRAE will be out here in 12, the standard, ASHRAE 189.1 plus LEED Silver. So tightening standards in terms of energy efficiency, water use, etc., through this time frame. This is how much the Corps of Engineers is spending on construction, military construction during those years. It's about, there's a peak here because this is the BRAC peak. This is the base closure peak. But the average over the 10 years is about $9 billion. Now, is that an influence on the marketplace that's significant? Well, this is the residential construction marketplace in 2010, about $260 billion. There's our $9 billion slice there. It looks kind of small, but really when you think about that, that slice is required to have LEED certified designers. If you're in the industry and there's that much of a market segment, and you know there's a lot of other segments of that market that are moving in that direction, you're going to consider as a designer, as a firm, that, hey, it's to our strategic advantage to get LEED certified. You know, we don't want to be closed out of this market, and it'll give us help on this rest of this market. So it looks like a small slice, but probably the impact is significant. There are many LEED certified designers, not just within the Corps of Engineers overseeing the construction, but within the community that's providing, that's servicing the Corps in the military construction. So it's one of the areas where there probably is a significant impact. Some of the other areas are harder to look at and say how much have we impacted. 10,000 electric vehicles were purchased over the last couple of years. That was a conscious effort by the departments to say we're going to jumpstart this market, and by the way, we can use these on all the installations to be the vehicles that drive around and service our non-tactical vehicle requirements. They've caused a number of issues. One is differential in speed, what these go versus all the other vehicles on the roads. And that's caused a problem. Where do we plug them in and when do we plug them in? And so there's been a lot of issues about, did we jump into this without thinking it through? But interestingly enough, the decision to do this was being done at the same time we were writing a document about evolving the commercial vehicle fleet and what steps should be made in a conscious effort of evaluating each of the options. But that's the way the department works, is somebody at a high level said, we are going to impact the marketplace and we're going to do this. And at other levels, we may have been saying, well, we ought to think through what the impact is. But another technology that is going to be very important in terms of moving forward with sustainability, because energy modeling is facilitated when we have a model of our buildings, is that we've gone totally in the Corps of Engineers for several years now to a building information model for every building that's designed. Along with a partnership with industry, has also had an impact on the total industry and has moved us forward in terms of the ability of the industry to deliver model buildings as part of the process.
Question?
Yeah.
What are those colors?
The energy security map?
Right.
Okay, this is a look at how do we evaluate our security for whether or not the grid is going to be providing reliable energy in future years. This is actually a map that was generated by the electrical grid industry, not the Army. And it says, you know, as we move out into the future, actually not very far into the future, about 2015, here's areas where if we don't do upgrades to the grid, we're going to have significant congestion, high congestion, and lower congestion. Green lower, red higher. A major issue for us looking at how secure our installations are in terms of energy is what's the status of the grid. And so this is an area where the influence is us, the military working with the industry at how do we work with you on the upgrade of the grid to make sure we have secure power to the installations in the locations where there's concerns.
Some of the red areas are sparsely populated areas. I was wondering why.
You mean here?
Yeah.
Yes, true. There's reasons why that's the red area. But the yellow area is a significant concern. And there isn't that much of a defense concern in this region, but there's lots of defense installations in the yellow area, and that's where the focus has been in terms of concern about the grid tomorrow. I showed a few slides back on this 25% renewable by 2025. This is a look at what's the progress against that. So this is a report we're doing at the lab for the Department of Defense that says, how have we done against this? Looking back to 2005, we were about 4.2%, and we didn't make much progress here going out to about 2008. But the last 2 years, big jumps. Well, that's because stimulus funding. That's because there was a very conscious initiative by the Obama administration to put money into advancing renewable energy projects with government organizations. And a lot of that went to Department of Defense advancing. So we jumped to about 7.3%. These projections are three looks at where we're likely to be at 2025. If we keep up this pace that we have for the last 2 years because of all the stimulus funding, we could make it. If we